Do you want to create huge, wide, stereo sounding mixes? Well, there's one fail that everybody makes when they're starting out, myself included, and I want to save you from it. Let's check it out. Welcome back to the Band Guide, where we use Garageband to create professional sounding music. I'm your band guy, Colin, and we're going to get right into today's video. But before we do, I just want to say that you're going to get a lot more out of this video if you can listen on headphones or on stereo speakers. It's going to be really hard to tell what we're talking about on just your laptop under your phone. So if you have headphones or speakers, go ahead and grab them. Let's go ahead and dive in. Okay, so let's say you have one track. It could be anything, a guitar track, a vocal track, a shaker track, anything. For this example, we'll use a guitar track. And let's say we want this guitar track to be huge, big and wide, far left, far right sound in our mix. Well, in this example, let's go and listen to this guitar that we have. We can pan it far left, and we can pan it far right. So it would make sense to us that we could duplicate this track and just pan one far left and one far right. So let's go ahead and do that. Let's duplicate by holding Option, clicking, and dragging. That's going to duplicate this track, all the settings, all the plugins, and the audio in one quick click, super easy. And we'll pan this one far right. So now we have one guitar that's far left, one guitar that's far right. Let's listen to this. This is our far left guitar. Far right guitar. So same exact guitar, far left, far right. What happens when we listen to them together? So we have far right. Let's add in that far left. Far left. Let's add in that far right. Sounds like it's just right up the center, right? Well, why is that? If you think about it, it actually makes sense. We don't have a center ear. So how do we hear things as center? How do we hear things directly in front of us? We only have two ears. Our brain has to make sense of what it's hearing and where that means it is in our stereo field, right? So if we are hearing the exact same sound in our left ear and our right ear, then our brain is going to decode that and say that must be directly in front of us. So if we were to duplicate our track and put one in the left ear and one in the right ear, then that means that this sound is directly in front of us. We're hearing the exact same thing in our left ear, the exact same thing in our right ear. Our brain interprets that as just being directly in front of us. So in order to have big, wide sound, left-right sound, we have to have some variation in the left ear and the right ear to get that big, wide sound. Now, my favorite way, my most common way, 9 times out of 10, the way that I go about getting that width, that separation, that slight difference, is to just record the exact same thing one more time. I just record the exact same part one more time. I might add a little variation. I might try to change out the pickup. I might play a different guitar. I might try a different amp, a different mic on the amp. Anything like that is going to add a little more width, a little more separation. But that allows us to go from, let's say, this sound to this sound. Exact same part, doing the exact same thing, but now we have a big, wide sound. This sound versus right up the middle, big and wide, right? Super simple. So that's 9 times out of 10 my favorite way to resolve this issue. The second way that I love to do is to have just slightly different parts in the left and right ears. So in this example, we just have a complementary guitar part, but it's doing something different. So right ear is doing the rhythm part. Left ear is doing something different, but they're similar. So there's still balance there in how our ears are hearing it. It doesn't feel like super lopsided, like we're just leaning off to one side or the other. So you can have different parts. You can do this with vocals too. You could have a low part in the left ear, a high part in the right ear, and just keep them balanced throughout the song. But they could be different, right? They don't always have to be exactly the same to be balanced. And then a third way, let's say you have a part, like let's say you want this part, and it really makes sense in part of the song for it to just be in the far left ear, but that feels really unbalanced in your mix because now it's just kind of leaning to the left in your mix, but you don't want to put it in the center, and it doesn't sound right to be double tracked. Well, one other way you could do this to balance it out is to create just a reverb track. So all I've done here on this track is I've duplicated the track, same way, Option, clicked, and drag our original guitar down so it has all the same settings. And then I took it and I just added a reverb at the end of it. I found a preset that I like, and then I just turned the dry output to 0, and I left the reverb output where it was. So this is just a reverb track. So it just sounds like that same part but being played in like a room. And then I just balance that against that main guitar part. So instead of just this solo single track off to our left ear, we still have it definitely on our left ear, but it's still balanced sounding. And it sounds like, what it sounds like to me is I stepped into a room, there's a guitar amp playing on my left, it's bouncing off a wall on the right, I'm hearing the amp on the left, I'm hearing it play in a room on the right, but it still sounds natural, right? Because that's the way it would be in real life. So create realistic spaces when you can. This is a great trick if you just have a part that just should be a little bit unbalanced, but you want it to still feel balanced in your mix. I love this, and I like it because it keeps that part nice and clean as opposed to just putting reverb all over the whole thing. Really, really cool trick. Definitely a favorite way to make space and make big, wide sound in your mix. So again, play around with it. You don't always have to do just one of these over and over and over again. 9 times out of 10, I end up just doubling for a lot of the parts that I want big and wide, but play around with it. Try different parts out. Try harmonies, try reverb effects for some parts, and have a variation to get big, wide mixes. And keep in mind that a big, wide mix starts in the recording phase. If you want a huge mix, then you need to be planning to record for a huge mix. So if you want huge guitars far left, far right in the chorus, then you need to record a far left and a far right guitar for the chorus. Or the vocals to sound huge, you might need to record a vocal double for the far right and the far left, or a harmony for the far right and far left. You need to be planning these things in the recording phase. And then once you get to the mixing stage, you'll have them there to use. Huge, huge tip for a more professional sounding mix. Now, painting and creating this big stereo field for a mix is a piece of the puzzle of mixing, of creating professional sounding mixes. That's actually only 1/2 of one step of the 6 steps that you need to create a professional sounding mix. And you can do all 6 of these steps inside GarageBand completely free. I want to give you something to help with that. I've put together a 6-step checklist to a pro mix in GarageBand. It just walks through the 6 steps that all professional mixes have and how you can do them inside GarageBand. There's a link in the description below where you can grab that completely free. So be sure to grab that. Before you go, I want to hear from you. What is your favorite tip for creating big, wide mixes in GarageBand? Let me know in the comments below. If this video was helpful, be sure to like, comment, and subscribe, and I'll see you next week with another video.